Well, hey folks, and welcome to another What is Ken Up To Garden Edition. Today it's the front yard, and it's time to repot these beautiful containers that I have out here. I have a couple of them that need to be updated for the spring with some annual flowers. One has a lantana in it, so that's all good to go. And picked out some nice petunias here. Just got those at Lowe's, and some zinnias that I'm going to pop in as well. Now, you've probably seen, if you're a gardener, you've probably seen a lot of containers that come with these water reservoirs inside of them, or you can buy inserts. There's many different brands that are out there where you put them into your containers, and you can fill them by a pipe, and then put in some soil into a basket that's included, and then the water wicks up and it helps bring water up to the roots. And for annuals, that is really great. It really helps, especially if you're in a warm climate like us in Southern California. Those are expensive. I mean, there's one that I found that's a very popular brand from a very popular company that is known for producing beautiful potted annuals that you can buy at all the different garden centers. It is $40 for one, $40. To me, that's kind of ridiculous. And so I decided that I was going to make one on my own and do it for a lot cheaper. So I went online, I looked what theirs was, kind of the size of it. I think it holds about 2.5 gallons of water. And this is what I came up with. I went to Lowe's and bought a simple bucket and a lid. And these buckets are, anywhere from $2 to $4, just depending on what size you might get. You have to get, the lid is extra and costs as much as the pot. You know how that is. But so what I decided to do was to figure out how I was going to do this is the insert that I was going to use is I came up with the idea of using a pool filter basket. I went online, I bought a set of these. They were two for maybe, like $10. What's really nice, they came with these little covers on, these little mesh covers, which I thought was a good idea because that helps prevent soil from migrating down into the water reservoir. By the way, those more expensive ones that cost $30, $40, they don't come with that. And I think that's kind of an important feature. So I did, I cut out on the lid here, cut out a circle. Yes, it's not great. My utility knife wasn't that sharp. And then using a hole saw, this is for the pipe that I'm going to put in there. You don't need to use a hole saw. You can use whatever I want. And of course, this goes into here, and then it goes on the bucket. The pipe goes in like that, and there you have it. For about $10, you made your own. Now, after I did this, I put it together, before I put it in the pot and all, I realized that I have a whole bunch of these containers, these nursery containers where you buy your flowers in. Probably have a dozen of these. They're perforated at the bottom. So I thought this might work even better because it hangs a little bit lower so it can wick up more water. And I think I'm going to use those instead. And then I'm going to put some screen mesh at the bottom. That's going to help prevent the soil from migrating down. And, you might have a lot of this stuff just hanging around your garage, your garden. You could almost do this, if you do, you might go out and have to buy the bucket. You could do this for free. I had PVC pipe. I had the screen material. I had these pots. I really did not need to buy these. I thought about this first and they will work, but I didn't need to do that. So I could, so basically it was the cost of the bucket and the lid for like $5. I'm doing the exact same thing that's going to cost you a heck of a lot more money. Now, one thing I think I'm going to do is where this pipe goes in here, it fits real snugly, but I'm going to put a piece of duct tape there and just put an X in it and then shove it down. That'll keep it in there a little more snug, prevent any dirt from going down into it. And then it just all goes in the pot. I don't care about the handle still being on. It goes in the pot like that. I fill this with soil and then put the annuals in. Now, I do want to say something about that. This really works with annual flowers because the roots don't go down that deep. So something that you're going to change out seasonally, that is what's going to work best for this. If you're going to be planting, like right next to here, I've got a lantana in there that the roots are going to go down. If you have a larger pot, that'll work, but short pots like this, I would suggest not to do that, because what's going to happen is the roots are going to go down and hit the bucket, and it's not going to work quite as well. This is really meant for annuals. Now, the nice beauty about this is you can create whatever you want. You don't need to do this is like a 2-gallon container, 2-gallon bucket here. If you've got a bigger container, you can go get one of those big Lowe's buckets or Home Depot buckets. You can do whatever you want for a heck of a lot cheaper than going out and buying one online for $30, $40. And that can really add up, if you've got several containers. Now, I'm still going to put the drip system on here as well. That'll be the daily watering of this. But then as needed, I'll come in here and fill this as needed. I'll probably just use a stick, drop it down into the hole, and that way tell me how much water is in there. I might put a cap on top of here just so soil doesn't get down. But other than that, it's really a great solution for really pennies on the dollar. So let's get to putting this in and get the flowers planted. All right, folks, so there you have it. I've got the bucket in. I've got my petunias in. Love the color. Just a nice kind of a white, creamy yellow. I've got some zinnias that'll come up. They're multicolored. And I've got everything ready to go. I did find these caps. These are just PVC caps that I'm going to put on top of here. By the way, a couple things. You saw me when I put the basket in. Before I put it in, I really pushed down some moist soil in there to really pack it in. That's important. That's why. Otherwise, what's going to happen is once you put the water into the reservoir, it's just going to soak into there real quick. And as you know, somehow soil always disappears in container plants. And that'll just compact things a little bit too early. So I really moistened that soil, compacted it down, and then put everything in there, and then filled the rest of this with soil, and then, of course, the flowers. Now, in this case, I used a 3/4 inch PVC pipe because that's what I had, and it worked for the size bucket and lid that I had. I had a 1-inch one. It was just going to be a little too big. This is fine. You saw how I just took the hose to it and put water in there. As I said, I'll grab a stick, keep it out here, and I can kind of check the level of the water. And really, all I have to do now is do the other pot over there, and then I'll probably put some bark chips in here, and then I'll go ahead and put these the drip system back in, and we'll see what happens. I haven't done this before, but I'm interested. It gets this gets full sun throughout the day, and of course even worse during the summer. So I'm hoping this will work, and we'll see. But you know what? If it doesn't, I didn't spend $40 on one of these systems. I made it myself. So you know, there's a win either way it goes. So I'm going to get all these flowers in. I'm going to get in the other pot, and I'll show you what it looks like when that's all over with, and I will somewhat clean up this mess. Well, all right, folks, so there you have it, and all the flowers are in the pot, the zinnias, the petunias, my water reservoir is in there, and we will see how well it works. I filled everything up, I watered everything, I did end up topping with some mulch just to keep the moisture in. Again, these front pots are in full sun, and they get pounded really from right now, springtime, all the way through September or so by direct sun. So I'm hoping this is a good solution to keep those roots nice and hydrated. And you know, it was easy to do, it's inexpensive, and it saves on soil, right? The amount of soil you need for the container. So give it a try. Again, use anything you want. If using a white PVC pipe, you don't want to do that, you can use whatever you want and see how it works, you know, give it a try. All right, thanks for tuning in to another, well, garden episode of What is Ken Up To? I'll see you next time.